Good morning, everybody. Thanks for being here with us today. It's great to participate with you today, and Happy New Year to you all. I hope all of you were able to have a safe and restful holiday break. Today, we've got the first installment here in January of 2021 of our Innovation Hour discussion series, a lunchtime series that has become very popular. It's great to see hundreds of our employees logging on to participate with us, and I hope you all have been able to grab a sandwich or whatever it is that you're going to work through with lunchtime with us. This is a follow-on of an effort that we really started last year, really trying to find ways to focus in and to shed some light on some of the great innovative work that our employees are doing throughout Metropolitan, and create venues to highlight some of that good work. Hopefully, you've seen this pop up on a number of things that you've been able to witness yourself. Just earlier this year, we highlighted some of the work that Jonathan Smith has been able to do out at the Lake Matthews forebay and improving operations and the forebay operations at Lake Matthews. Through Water Talk, you probably saw a video that was posted highlighting work that Ken Lorenzo has been able to do to help us clean our water quality sampling lines in a much more efficient manner. And we're just trying to continue to find more of these stories and ways to highlight these stories for each of you. A big part of that is our innovation hours, which we're logged on to today. Thanks again for joining. You're going to hear from a great panel of folks today that are focusing on information technology and the way that is improving our operations. As we go through the presentations today, please think about comments or questions that you might have. We're going to have an opportunity, although we've got a packed agenda, we are going to have an opportunity for some Q&A a little bit later in the segment. So be prepared for that, and we're happy to see your contributions in that Q&A session. With that, what I'd like to do is introduce us, everybody, to the facilitator that's going to walk us through our discussions today with these panelists, and that's Charlie Eckstrom. All of you know Charlie. Charlie is the head of our information technology group, and this isn't the first time that you will have heard from Charlie on the Innovation Hour. Recall that we had an Innovation Hour back in September last year that talked about the work that was done to help us through the transition given the changes as a result of COVID-19. That was a great panel. Charlie, thanks for participating in that panel back then, and really appreciate you shepherding us through the discussions today. For all of you, Charlie's been with us a number of years, but in his previous life with Orange County, Charlie was actually hailed as the 2017 Innovator of the Year. So he is definitely a leader in our organization that is helping us work through how to be innovative and how to, frankly, showcase some of those innovations like we're going to be doing today. So Charlie, it's great to have you here, and the floor is yours.
Thanks, Devin. I'm really excited to be here to highlight some of the work that we're doing in IT, but I did want to make a point about that, is that we work really closely with all areas of our business, that it's a partnership in this innovation. Generally, our business areas supply the requirements, and we supply the technology, and we work together to provide systems that can enable our business. If you think about it, IT touches every part of our business. We support over 200 different applications. So I was trying to think of a part of the business that is not supported by technology, but I had a hard time. I actually couldn't think of one. So maybe somebody can bring up one during our feedback at the end. And if you can stump me, maybe when we get back to work, I'll take you out to lunch. But I did want to talk a little bit about, real quickly, our guiding principles for innovation in IT. And the first principle that I want to focus on is digital workplace. So that's our attempt to digitize everything we do, all the processes, all the workflow, no more paper. That's one of the mantras that I have, is no more paper. You know, I don't want to have to do wet signatures on anything. Electronic signatures now, almost every company and every use case is using electronic signatures. So we really want to move to a digital workplace. The second guiding principle is mobile. We are in a mobile world. Look at us right now. We are all working from home for the most part, even though we do have some important staff working at our field locations. But for, probably 60, 70% of our organization is working from home. So it's only going to increase as we move forward in the future. So mobile, you have to be able to access our network and our data 24/7, 365 from any location. So that's our goal. The next guiding principle is cloud. Why would we use our own data centers when we can have our applications, servers, storage in a hosted situation where, again, it's more robust, it's more resilient, and it's more cost effective. So again, cloud also enables that 24/7. It's always up. Self-service, that's the next guiding principle. So you see that most people these days want to be able to have self-service. They don't really want to call their credit card company. They want friction-free self-service to get on to their internet site and to solve their problem with as little contact as needed. So that's another thing that we are trying to approach. How do we become a much more effective self-service company? And then finally, the last guiding principle is data analytics. And that really has to do with how do we use the data that we have in our systems to make better decisions financially, operationally. And this is something that the private sector, because they're profit motivated, have been doing pretty successfully. And I think this is where we can start to use it to look at our operations. And we're starting to look at that now. Data analytics paired up with machine learning and AI, kind of the sky's the limit. So that's our last guiding principle. So again, I'd like to throw out there, we always take in new ideas from our business partners and welcome any new ideas because that's the starting point. Then we go through requirements and then we look at what technology matches those requirements. So we have lots of examples in IT, but we're going to share 3 of them with you today. I'd like to introduce the first example. I'd like to introduce Seth Potter from the IT GIS team and Ian Whyte, who's the Emergency Management Program Manager. They work together to use the latest GIS tools to enhance monitoring of emergencies throughout our service area. So take it away, guys.
Thank you, Charlie. Seth Potter, GIS analyst with Metropolitan Water District. Let me share my screen here. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Ian.
Yeah, so this is Ian Whyte with Emergency Management. Very good on that. So I know some of the things we're talking about now, and we're basically what we're going to talk about is how Seth and I work together to really look at how we start to track incidents and information that might be necessary for us to monitor just in case there's an impact on any kind of operations for Metropolitan or our staff. So right now what we've done is we'd go ahead, we would have an offline system called WebEOC, and we would put information in there as a way of tracking it and logging it so we could keep track of it. But one of the things we found out is we really wanted to make sure we had an extension of that, which was really more of the what we call duty officers. And that's something we implemented at the beginning of the fall last year. So around September, we went ahead and instituted a set of duty officers, and I'll go into that a little bit later, but really that gives us 24-hour coverage in the EOC. So one of the things we want to do is start to do this tracking. How do we actually track everything that's happening? Because believe it or not, there's a lot going on. And luckily, knock on wood, not much of it's happening right, and impacting us. But there is we want to make sure we're always aware of it. So that was one of the things we want to look to do. And so to give you an idea, when we have our WebEOC, this is what it looks like, you know, and there's various screens we'll use, but it's an online system. You know, as Charlie mentioned, it's in the cloud. So we'll go ahead and put information in there, and it allows us just to track what's going on. And usually we'll do this when there's an event that happens. We'll set up a specific incident, what they call, which is like a folder. And then we start to put information as it comes up, and other users in the district can do that as well. And then someone trying to get a hold of me. And so, but you can see the format is pretty straightforward. So it's really not a lot that you can look at. You can get a little bit of basics. So what we did is we worked with asked the GIS folks, could you come up with, how do we get a solution to put this on a map? How can we start sharing this in a spatial aspect?
Yeah, so Ian came to us, and you know, we decided, we had just started this Aegis upgrade, which is the enterprise GIS upgrade. And so we came up with a GIS web application that allowed all the members of the EOC, whoever is a member, can access this application for various information that they want to. The key part to this application had to be a layer that tracked the incidents on a map that also linked to the event ID in WebEOC, so you could go back between both applications. The duty officers have the ability to track edits and update edits as needed based on the status of the incident. And GIS functionality was a big part of it. We had to have the ability to consume layers from other sources. We actually consume data from web services from NOAA. We have traffic cameras from Cal OES, I believe, Caltrans, fire locations from, I guess, what is that, Ian?
There's satellite tracking. We also get it from you know, incident management agencies.
So we consume web services from other agencies that are updated automatically. So the map refreshes every few minutes with current information based on whatever's coming from the different services at the time. And let's see. Oh, and now we can pretty much do the demo. So I'm gonna get out of this, and then I'm gonna get into our application here.
There we go. Well,
so this one is the dashboard. We're gonna start with this one.
There you go. Yeah, and as you can see, what we're looking at here is as we started to build up the duty officer program, which is a pilot program we're working right now. Basically what that means is we rotate a small cadre of people where there's somebody on call 24/7 and they're acting like the EOC. So if something happens, that's their job, is to figure out, hey, there's a fire going on, there's an earthquake. Does it impact us? Is it something we need to be worried about? So someone's always doing that analyzing. You know, how important is it to us? And then if there is a follow-up, they make sure the right people start to know about it. We start to spread the word. And so one of the challenges is, okay, we'll do that. We can do it through email and other sources, but we wanted to go ahead and figure out, how do we share all the information coming in? So we talked a lot with the folks in the security management unit and other groups at Metropolitan. And there's a term called the common operating picture, which basically means you throw everything on a map so you can see how it's all relating to one another. And this right now is the current map that we've come up with. This is we call the editor version, and this is where the duty officers can go in and add something. If you want to maybe just go through the map there, Seth, we'll just.
Is there a particular thing you want to do, or just anywhere?
Well, we can just stop like right here. This is what the duty officers can do to add an incident. So if we see something, we can click on it, drop it wherever the thing is. So we'll just have Seth kind of do that. And we fill in the information about it. Seth mentioned it links to WebEOC. This is the ID number in WebEOC. So if people want to learn more about it, they can go into WebEOC and get all the details. But this gives like the high level, this is the current status of whatever's happening at the moment. And so you can see we could put in here like whatever fire is happening. We put a short description, and then we would save it. And we won't do it at this point because actually this is a live map. But what you can do is see, we would put that information in there. And then when the user wants to look at it, they can. So for example, if you want, in fact, Seth, why don't we just click on the 2 instances that are open right now?
Sure, I'll click on this one here, which is the red flags and power safety shutoff events.
Oh, I'll tell you what, why don't you close, I'm sorry, Seth, can you close the editor box?
Oh, sorry about that.
There we go. Yeah, now try it.
There we go.
Yeah. So I don't know if everyone can read that, but that's something that the duty officer has put in actually today. So you may notice it's getting a little windier out there starting this afternoon. It's a red flag warning for much of our area. That's the purple shaded area you're seeing. Plus there's going to be public safety power shutoffs that may be happening, but this puts that information right there in real time. And as the situation decreases, we'll take it off the map. And you can see the other things we mentioned, like the purple, that's a National Weather Service. That's the red flag warning. So if you wanted to get information about that, the user can go in and get that, and that updates automatically on the screen. And you could even take the link and go see the whole thing if you wanted to. There's a lot of other functionality on this map that it does. I won't go into all of it right now, but maybe if you can hit the situational awareness tab.
Yeah, let's try that. This actually gives any MWD person in the EOC the ability to get a situational awareness of what's going on near a particular facility, or set of facilities. So in this case, we've established a buffer, and I probably should have expanded it.
And just for the sake of time on this too, basically what this does is if you see the tabs down there, by putting that on the map, we can then, the system will go ahead and find out exactly like what plants are nearby, what facilities, what parcels we have, meters, etc., is highlighted quickly on whatever parameters we set. So that can, if you say you had, hey, there was a bomb threat in that area, you could pop that up and instantly find out, oh, these are the number of facilities now, and these are the ones specifically that may be impacted. And you can see how quickly Seth did it. So it's very easy to work.
Very easy.
Right?
I'd like to show the dashboard now.
Yeah, and now the next step we're into is a dashboard using the same tools, but now we've got a little bit more, make it a user friendly, and this is what we want to roll out to everybody to start using, for the, not average, but like the layperson to use. So the map takes all that information from the editor that our duty officers put in, and then it goes ahead and lists all the incidents that are open on the left side as well as the number. And on the right side, we actually have live tweets that are coming in from various sources like the Forest Service, county EOCs, any other places like that, and they're updated as well. So the idea here is that you go ahead and see this in real time, and you like a one-stop place you can go to get information. And I guess the last part I was thinking, Seth, maybe we can show the closed incidents on the map. Okay. And down there's, and to give you an idea how active it's been, we're going to put the close incidents. These are all the things since September that the duty officers have been monitoring. And if you kind of zoom in a little bit, you can see all of those now. There's like, what, 62 of them, or 61, I believe, are things that are happening, that have happened, that we've been having to track, watch, make sure that nothing goes on.
A couple earthquakes.
Yeah, got some earthquakes in there. Fires, we had quite a few fires. Maybe if we can find a fire and just click on it. And they can...
Yeah, there's a fire right here. Let's
there
just
you go.
take this one. This one was...
That was...
the airport fire.
Mm-hmm.
That was in December.
Right. But you can see, it gives you a very quick update on what you have and what's going on. And like I said, right now, one of the things we're looking at is doing with all the... you have the presidential inauguration coming up. You have some other areas. We are seeing that there are, we do see that there are some areas that we have to monitor and watch with the EOCs. Maybe there could be possible civil disturbances or something like that. So we're working closely with security and other teams as well to make sure we're up to date on that. So
I guess we could probably talk about some of the other layers that we have.
Absolutely. Yeah. Sure.
So
absolutely.
Yeah. Rupam, do we have time?
Yeah. How are we on time there, Rupam?
Maybe another minute or so, and then we'll wrap up.
So we could do wildfire perimeters.
Yeah, as you can see here, basically the user can go in now and put in whatever areas you'd like. Maybe probably a good one would be one of the OS cameras.
Cameras, okay, yeah. Let's do that. And let's see, I have to zoom in a little bit.
There you go, yeah. So we're gonna move inside. We'll find a camera, see if you can get
Yeah,
one
I
of the
got it,
orange
cameras.
ones. There you go.
Let's see.
Awesome.
So let's do the webcam.
Yeah.
And that is the,
Hmm.
what is that,
Yeah.
current picture? Genuine.
Yeah, that's a freeway camera. But long story short, there's a series of cameras OES's works. Southern California Edison has put a lot of the funding in that too. These are the Caltran cameras, but they're real-time cameras. So if there's like a fire or an incident going on, we can try and work with that, try and put it up there, and that gives us what they call situational awareness. So we can start to see, is this fire actually a threat to us, or what's the damage, as well as seeing it on a map. Once again, you put everything into one place so people can get an idea what's happening. So that's one of the layers that's very helpful for us in there as well. There's also a layer that does satellite tracking of thermal imagery. So when fires come up, they will literally leave a little red dot. If you zoom out a bit there,
Okay, so
Seth, I noticed Mexico has quite a few fires going on.
yes, they do. Let's see, it's
I might have to, yeah, I gotta keep going.
down
There we
here.
go.
Where are those dots? I guess these are
I'll
some
put
of them.
modus on. Probably
Oh, we
down
didn't
the
have,
layer.
okay. Did we?
Oh, no, we do have the layer.
It's on, it's just there's no data.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I take back, they made a layer out of me. But what we do, you'll basically start to show you red dots where you start to see fire activity, and they update that every few hours. So that's lets you know where is a fire.
Yeah.
So that's it on my end.
That's it for us. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, thanks guys. This is a really powerful tool and a really great way to use GIS to really benefit our emergency operations center. I've used it to pinpoint and look at cameras to see how close we are to microwave towers, to radio towers for the fires. So it's been extremely useful. So thank you very much for your efforts on this. So now we'll jump to our second innovation example. I want to introduce Johnny Vo, who is on IT's Enterprise Business Application team, and Mike Thompson, who's the team manager of Operations Control Center in Eagle Rock, who created a custom developed water ordering application in the cloud for our member agencies. So the floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Charlie. Okay, yeah, so once again, we're going to be discussing the water ordering application. My name's Mike Thompson. I work with WSO. I'm currently an Operations Control Center team manager. They're at our Eagle Rock facility. And with me is Johnny Vu. He's an IT software developer. He started with the district back in 2016. I've worked on a couple projects with Johnny. This is the latest here. So currently, Eagle Rock, the Operations Control Center, when they receive water orders from our member agencies, what occurs is the agencies will call the OCC to schedule flow changes. At that point, the OCC system operator would write down what the request is on a piece of paper, and then when they get time, they would input that into the electronic system log. Sometimes they get busy, and they may have an accumulation of these entries to do at a point in time when things die down, not so many phone calls. So how this idea came about, I prior to me getting the job as team manager in 2016, I was a system operator from started in 2006. Around the 2015 to 2016, I approached my supervisor at the time, my team manager, and I gave him an idea of why don't we do this electronically with all this new technology and stuff, rather than have to deal with phone calls and things of that nature. He liked the idea, but shortly after that conversation, he got promoted to a unit manager, and then I got his position. I got promoted to the team manager position, and not long after that, we had a meeting with IT, and which was relating to another subject. But I did after that meeting ended. One of the individuals was a unit manager, and he was walking out to the parking lot, and I ran out there and grabbed him and said, "Hey, what do you think about this? Is this something we could do? Is this something you can make happen?" And within a couple weeks, he set up a meeting with some IT staff and some developers. I don't remember who was all there at the time, but from that point forward, the developer was able to demo the application. So the way the water ordering application works is, like I mentioned, the old way was a phone call. They write it down on a piece of paper, then they plug it into the electronic system log. But the idea behind this application is that the flow change request would come in via the computer. So whether it's a smartphone, a tablet, laptop, PC, the member agency would log into the system, make the request, hit submit. That would go to the business machine, to a system operator at Eagle Rock. And so once if the order was acceptable, they could approve it, hit submit, and it writes to the electronic system log. So overall, the way it improves the process is it provides for more accurate agency flow change requests. And what I mean by that is in the past, a lot of the member agencies deal in as far as units, 1 million gallons a day, whereas the OCC deals in cubic feet per second, or CFS. And there's a lot of times that the agencies will forget to do the math and do the conversion. And so their flow change requests were not accurate to what they're actually flowing. It's just they forget to do the math on it. Overall, this program is going to speed up the process for flow change request. Keep in mind when the Eagle Rock system operator gets a phone call, let's say it is a member agency wanting to make a request, they may have to put them on hold because they get a high volume of phone calls. So the agency may be on hold for a couple minutes. By the time the system operator gets back to them, they would have to write down, like I already mentioned, write down the request and then log it. So that could take a couple minutes, could take 10 minutes for that whole process to go through. But now with this system, once it's submitted, the operator could be doing multiple tasking. It comes up on his computer, accepts a request, and then if it is acceptable, and then they hit submit to log it to the ESL. And overall, this will reduce the amount of incoming phone calls. I haven't really accurately measured the amount of phone calls we get in regards to water changes. But it's probably around 20 to 25% of our phone calls that come in. That eventually that will reduce those amount of phone calls for flow change requests. This system actually provides a greater security because anybody, any Joe Blow could be calling in and making a change request. We don't know who they are. There's no security. It could be a disgruntled employee wanting us to cut 80 CFS on OC 88 or something like that. And so we have no idea. But with this, there's administrative processes that the agencies have to go through to register their people for security purposes. This system also offers the agencies useful information that shows what their current flow is, what the last flow change request was, in addition to that little conversion for the units of million gallons a day and CFS. So where we are today, we're currently testing this with the City of Long Beach Water Department. We have been testing it since April. For the most part, there are a few minor hiccups that Johnny was able to address relatively quickly. But outside of that, the system operators there at Eagle Rock they seem to be thrilled with the system. I don't know if they're telling me that because I'm their boss, but they seem to be thrilled about it. But as far as feedback from Long Beach, I've gotten nothing but positive feedback for the most part. And where we're looking to go is we want to roll this out to other member agencies and eventually get all agencies that call in, including sub-agencies, to start using this program. There may be some other refining we need to do once we do get this rolled out to the sub-agencies, but we'll address that at that time. And now I'm going to turn it over to Johnny, and he's going to run through a demo here. I appreciate it.
Hello, everyone. Just to reintroduce myself, I am Johnny, and I am a software developer in IT. And a couple of disclosure before I get started here. I am actually running this off of my development environment. as to not interfere with our operators monitoring the system at EcoRaw. And secondly, for the sake of time, I'm just going to focus on the core functionality of the application, which is submitting or scheduling a flow change and how our operators can act on the request. So what I have going on here is in the front of my screen here is I'm logged into the application as a member agency. And in this case, I'm logged in as Long Beach. And in the window in the back here is the dashboard all of our operators monitor throughout the day. So let's go ahead and focus on the agency side first, because that's where everything is started. So when our member agency is logged into the application, they all see this view, which is the form on the left here. And then if they have any pending requests, that is going to be shown on the right. This form is actually a mobile-friendly website. So if I scale this down, it'll fit into a phone or a tablet. And so what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to schedule a flow change. So to schedule a flow change, we need some basic information, right? Like what meter you want this change to happen on, the date, the time, and of course, what we want to change the flow to. So what's interesting about this application is it's hooked up into, it has a few integration points into a couple other applications that were developed in IT. So for instance, I'm actually gonna, sorry, let me actually select the meter first before I get into the integration point. So I'm going to select Long Beach 07A. And since I'm logged in as Long Beach, I cannot see any of the other meters from the other member agencies. That means I can't schedule for another agency and they cannot schedule for me. So I'm going to do 07A. Now let's go back to the integration points. So for instance, the current flow is actually provided by our winds information system. And likewise, the last requested flow is provided by the electronic system log. And now I'm going to select a date. And I'm going to select a time when I want this to happen. And so with this next part here, like Mike mentioned earlier, we do the conversions for the agencies. But what else we do is we provide them with the meter information, like what the minimum flow is and what the maximum flow is, so they cannot go out of bounds. So if I enter 7 here for the CFS, it will actually convert it to MGD. And for our member agencies that like to do MGD, they can actually go ahead and just input MGD and we'll convert it back to CFS. And comments are optional, but I'm going to go ahead and enter a comment here. Look. So what's about to happen is when I hit submit here, the dashboard behind me is actually going to start flashing red. And on the top right of my screen, you actually see a notification come in. And thirdly, I'll get an audio alarm that's going to go off in my headset, which you guys won't hear. So I'm going to go ahead and do the submit. So as you can see, it's flashing red. I'm actually going to acknowledge this to kill the alarm. So now let's shift our focus onto this side, which is the operator side. So like Mike mentioned earlier, now there's a greater sense of security because we're provided with the requester who's requesting the flow change, a direct phone number to contact them if necessary. Likewise, we know who or what agency the flow change is coming from. And of course, we have our basic information here of what meter, what flow to change to, and the date and the time. So now our operators actually have a few things they can do. If everything on here looks good, they can actually accept the request. If they want to respond to the agency, they can actually do that by doing an update response. So let me show you. And now on the agency side, they'll get an instant response. Likewise, if this isn't good, they can just deny the request. But for the sake of this demo, I'm gonna go ahead and accept this. And what's about to happen here is our member agencies will actually get a visual confirmation because earlier this request was red and now it's changed to blue. And I'm actually gonna go ahead and complete this request. So a few things gonna happen here when I complete this request. One, it's gonna send an email confirmation to the agency. Two, it's gonna write this schedule into the electronic system log. And three, again, it'll visually confirm with the member agency. Because what will happen is on their end, it popped off their stack. So all of this happened without, with less interaction between everybody. It's all done electronically. And that pretty much concludes my demo.
Okay. Anything else, Mike, on your end?
No, that about sums it up. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Johnny and Mike. This is a perfect example of the digital workplace that we're talking about. We're turning what was a manual process into a digital process, which creates better accuracy, better security, better efficiency, and can lead to actually better data analytics as well, because we're capturing certain data in a system which we can now use to make better decisions with. So thank you very much. So now let's move to our final example of innovation for today's meeting. I'd like to introduce Shawn Walker from our Enterprise Water Systems team in IT, and Katrin Hanley, who's the manager of the Water Quality Lab support team in Laverne, and they created a water quality monitoring app.
Hi there. So here in water quality, our overall mission is to safeguard the public's drinking water. And in doing so, we actually deploy patrollers, which are called water sampling field technicians, into the field to collect in different locations throughout the district. So currently we're staffed with 6 individuals that carry out this task. And they hit anywhere between 70 and 80 different locations throughout the distribution system, Monday through Thursday. So our distribution system is continually being monitored. And while they're doing this, they need to input the data that they're collecting out in the field. So all of these analytes were usually collected on a paper system. And in doing so, it caused transcription errors when data was being inputted back here at the lab. So Shawn had developed a method that we use on the iPads now, this application. This application helps transfer that information remotely when the controllers come back here to water quality, and it uploads this information into the laboratory information system. And we were very lucky to be able to work with Shawn on this application, because Shawn actually has 8 years of experience as a controller before he got his IT degree. So having that background knowledge for him to understand what it is that is needed for these applications in the field, and him being able to do this on the IT side and write this application for us has been very beneficial. So with that, I'm going to have Shawn kind of take you through the process that he worked on to get this developed.
Hi. So as Kat mentioned, I used to be a sample collector, and I was using the older system where we would scan it and enter the data into a data logger, and then it was also handwritten, so they had to match, and they could be off on times. Somebody could have accidentally had a typo, and it caused a lot of problems back in the day. And I envisioned having a more seamless digital system that would make it a lot easier for everybody. And we decided when I transitioned into IT, we decided to take it from a phased approach. So we originally, sorry, I changed my wrong slide. So we originally replicated the older system where we still had paper that would support a newer device. We went with a smartphone so that we could have some more functionality with it. And the phase 2 was we got rid of the paper, increased the data entry robustness so that we didn't have to worry about typos. And then there was no paper to try to compare it to, so that removed a lot of the issues, but it was still tethered to a district computer in order to bring the data back into the LIMS system that we have. And phase 3, which is the current version, we've transitioned to a cloud-based system. So it uses Microsoft OneDrive to transfer back and forth between the now iPads that they're using. And for implementing phase 3, we had some issues. We moved from a Windows smartphone to an iPad. So we had to design the new app to be for iOS, and it needed to use the cloud for the data transfers. We had to develop it just kind of on the fly. We haven't chosen a defined development method yet, so we had to deal with that. And to top it all off, we had to deploy it during the COVID-19 pandemic and provide remote support. So if there's problems, I can't grab the devices and touch them. I have to try to work with the patrollers in the field. Some of the benefits of going to iOS allows for that remote support. Windows Phone back in the day did not have the ability to share the screen. So iOS through Microsoft Teams or using Microsoft Teams allows us to do that. The iPad also has increased utilization. You can get Outlook, we can get Google Maps, Apple Maps, we can do email. Eventually we'll be able to do work tech. Some of the guys have started using it to do training in the field. So it's a lot better system that can be used for more things. We've also streamlined the business process by adding QR code that will act as a chain of custody system. So when the samples get back here with the patrollers, sample receiving staff can scan that QR code and it will tell them what bottles they should be expecting to get. So we don't have to worry about someone forgetting it in the truck or having left it at a lab somewhere else or something. And the most important part is we removed the tethering to the district computer. It's all done through the cloud. All the samples are uploaded to the device and then downloaded from the device that way. Another benefit by you having it cloud-based is if there's an emergency, we can add new samples on the fly and they will get transferred to the guys out in the field. Thankfully, we have not had to do that yet, but it is possible. And we can push app updates instead of with the old versions. I used to have to go and grab the devices from everybody and I looked like Gandalf sitting there installing the app on all the phones. So now I don't have to do that. And it integrates with Apple Maps and Google Maps to provide real-time driving directions that are updated with traffic conditions as they're driving. So some of the user feedback that we've gotten is it saves a lot of time eliminating the syncing. The updated hardware and software makes the process faster and smoother, and it's easy to use. They like the convenience and proficiency it provides to the team, and somebody really enjoyed learning how to use the iPad. So you can see one of the sample collectors with it out in the field. And instead of doing a live demo, I've just got some screenshots that I'm going to share with you. It makes things a lot easier. So you log into the device and you can pick the route that you're using for, or running for the day, along with entering in your thermometer serial number for tracking purposes. And when you select a site, you can choose which directions you want to get or what aliquots are there. And when you get directions, you get the choice of Apple Maps or Google Maps. I'm not going to try to tell people they have to use one or the other. Those are lines I don't want to cross. So this is the actual data entry screen. It shows the name of the site, the employee ID of the user, the unique identifier for any of the samples that you're collecting. And then in order to remove typos, we have a double data entry. So the users have to enter the temperature and the total chlorine and free chlorine twice. And the reason that first box is just kind of blank is because it's a security box, so they can't look back at what they typed and just type the second one. The idea is they're looking at their instrument that gives them their readouts. So, and they can add comments, they can change flows, and it gives them the time that they collected at. this is chemistry, and one of the reactions takes 3 minutes to complete. So we have that built into the system that they have to have waited 3 minutes to complete it. Otherwise, they shouldn't have a number. So trying to make sure that all of the QC is good. Evidently, we're human. We have issues. Sometimes we need to go back and edit the data, or we realize that we collected the wrong sample and we have to resample it completely. So we allow them to do that. And this is the chain of custody QR code. When they relinquish it, this will be scanned by the sample receiving staff back in the lab, and that'll provide the chain of custody tracking information. And this is updated, or a list of all of the samples that they'll have to collect for the upcoming days. When they're done with their stuff, with their samples, and they've relinquished everything, they can go back in and look at what they need to collect for tomorrow or the next day, or if they're going to be on a different route the next day, they can see all of that. That's pretty much all I have for today. All right, thanks.
All right, thank you very much. Another great example of showing how we can create these very practical, innovative solutions with in-house staff and ingenuity. And this one, again, hit a lot of our guiding principles: digital workplace, mobile, cloud, analytics that can come from the system. You could even say it helps with self-service of our employees. So with that, we've reached the end of our demonstrations that we are going to show you. I did want to thank all of the presenters. You guys did a great job, and I want to thank you for all of your hard work. You know, you make me look good. You guys do all the real work. I just sit in meetings and do email. So I do really want to thank you. Devin, do you want to say anything before we get into questions from the audience?
Charlie, thanks. Frankly, this is just phenomenal examples of both the innovation that's happening, but these are really practical examples of work that is being done right now to improve the way we get our jobs done at Metropolitan in 3 very different ways in different areas. But the other thing that just strikes me is they're also great examples of teamwork with people in IT and operations and in different areas in operations all working together to try to crunch these problems. So very much appreciate the discussions today and what you've all brought to the table, and also your commitments to really share it with all of the employees at large on the Innovation Hour today. So thanks again. And with that, why don't we get into some of the Q&A? Although I see a lot has already been registered with questions that have been able to be answered online as we go. So I'm not sure what other questions we have, Rupam, that we can take here. But if you see some, please let us know.
Yeah, I noticed that one of the questions was answered privately, so I just wanted to bring that one up, and that was, how do you access the map, the one that Ian and Seth presented? So if you want to handle that one, Ian and Seth.
Yeah, basically, I can go ahead and get that one, Seth, if you want. As far as access for it, right now we're using it where members, it's like limited to members of the emergency response organization. So these are folks that have the EOC or work in the incident command posts as well. I know that part of the build out later on, I think Seth was discussing, would be like a portal in other areas such as that. But we are looking at seeing how we can expand the use of that map. We just want to make sure we coordinate what goes in it, because we want to make sure we don't give out any security information or anything that you know, could be, that needs to be held a little closer to the chest. But right now, if you're part of the EOC teams or the ICP teams, you should have access to it, and you can talk to Seth or I, and we'll make sure you're set up on that.
If you need general information, we do have a general map that has information, similar information, just not the EOC incidents. or you can talk to us directly and we can come up with a web map or a web application that'll meet your needs.
Great. There's some other questions that have come in. So this is a question from Annie Barrera, and it's about the water quality app. And her question, Kat, if you'd like to answer this one, is water quality sampling is done Monday through Thursday. What happens if something happens over a weekend?
So, so this is just the routine monitoring that's done Monday through Thursday. So there are people on call on other teams with emergency response abilities. So my team necessarily does not do the emergency response, but ops liaisons, our C&D, they have people that are available 24/7. If there's an emergency, like a ruptured pipe, and they need to come out and test the water and stuff like that.
Great, thank you. And we're getting some more questions in. So here's another one that we can answer live too from Wade Takaguchi. Which teams, IT, SCADA, operations, et cetera, need to be involved during the project development process for projects that deal with technology improvements to address security concerns?
Yeah, so I'll take this one. This one's Charlie. This is Charlie. What we like to do at the outset of a project is get our cybersecurity team involved. So we have a separate team within IT headed up by our Chief Information Security Officer. His name's Jake Margolis. So if you reach out to our cybersecurity team, we can start to look at the requirements of the project and the technologies that we're using so that we can determine what is the best security methods for the application.
Great, thank you, Charlie. And here's another question from Timothy Gamble, and it says that iPads can't connect to our shared drive at this time. How will we be able to address this in the future to allow access?
So your iPad for your shared drive, so here's my take on shared drives. So as we move to the cloud, we have a cloud drive called OneDrive, which is a Microsoft drive. And that's where we're really urging staff to keep data. Now, I know it's been a transition to that and will continue to transition, but really we want everything hosted in the cloud. So we have that 24/7 ability to access data from anywhere. So that's kind of the short answer. I know there's some technical things that we need to work out for certain shared drives, but for right now, like your personal shared drive, your P drive, I keep all of my stuff in the cloud. It's a better practice as well because it's always backed up. So eventually all those shared drives will be in the cloud.
Great, thank you. And a couple more questions here. How is Metropolitan dealing with possible security breaches with cloud storage? I think that one's for you too.
Yeah, so there's lots of ways to make sure that that you're secure. The inherent thing about cloud storage is that the companies that we use for cloud storage, like Microsoft or like Oracle or like Amazon Web Services, is that they have very good security protocols. For them to get breached, it's fairly, the way I put it to people is that I feel safer to be in their clouds than in our own data center. But there are still things that we do on our end concerning the way we set up our network and firewalls as well to get to the cloud, and packet inspection and all that stuff on the data that's running back and forth. So that's how we deal with it. But if you think about it just from a reputation standpoint, if one of the major players got hacked, like Amazon or Microsoft, it would be a huge reputational blow. So they spend a lot of time ensuring that they are very, very secure.
Hey, Charlie,
Right.
this is Devin. Just real quick, a number of these presentations, I think, get the creative juices flowing in terms of people thinking about things that they might want to try out in their area and ideas that they might want to try to implement. One of the questions relates to this that I'm able to see online, particularly as it relates to cloud or online solutions. What would you recommend in terms of somebody that has an interest in an area, that is working on a team and wants to try to start investigating whether something can be done? What's the entry point in your organization to start that conversation?
Yeah, that's a good one. We have an enterprise architect. His name is Drew Simon. Many may know Drew. He's worked with the company for a very long time. He worked in water quality and then supporting water quality in IT. And now he's our enterprise architect, which means he hits every system that we do and is very familiar with our overall architecture. So he's the guy that you want to reach out to with your ideas, because he can easily start to think about, okay, how would this fit in with our architecture? Are there easy opportunities to advance it? And then he would bring it to our greater IT team to start that exploration. But that's your starting point, is Drew Simon.
Thanks, Charlie.
Thanks, Devin.
Yeah, thank you. So I think that takes care of most of our questions. There's a couple other ones. We will follow up with you if we did not get to answering your question. And I just wanted to, I guess with that, is there anything else that you want to add, Devin and Charlie?
No, other than, again, thanks everybody, the presenters and the people that tuned in today. I want to thank you for giving up part of your lunch to listen in to some of the innovation that we're doing. So thank you very much.
I would absolutely echo that. Great job today, folks, and a happy new year to everybody. Thanks for tuning in to our first innovation hour here in 2021. And we want to continue the momentum going in coming months. But also thank you for taking time with your lunchtime to hear from these great folks and the work that's going on, and really appreciate you being here with us. Take care, everybody, and look forward to talking to you again here in 2021.
And I just wanted to add one more thing before we close out. We do have a couple of innovation events coming up. Peggy just put in a registration for our technology approval group. It's a platform where emerging technologies are discussed and vetted by water utilities. All Metropolitan employees are invited to join on February 17th. And then we also have our innovation intranet page, which is, if you look on the left-hand side menu on the intranet homepage, you'll find it under resources, and it has a bunch of other innovation information about all the great things we're doing at Metropolitan to grow our culture of innovation. So check those out. Thank you all again, and we'll see you again soon.